Okay. Hello, guys. I'm a little bit stuffed up. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is very unprofessional. If you hear that, it's a little bit of the sniffles because of this episode. Because this episode, I mean, it's the series finale, but it may be the best in the series, you know? But man, last one of these videos as well. No teaser breakdown for next week. Last of Superman and Lois on this channel. I will continue with Silo and Severance next year, but then I guess Last of Us Season 2. But anyways, I mean, I'm sure you want to know my thoughts, right? On ending and whatnot. That'll be all a large portion at the end of the video. But right now, I'm here to break down the episode like it were any other episode. Like it hasn't just ended. But initial thoughts. At the beginning of the episode, I said I want Talrow and I want Gramps in this finale. Somehow I want to see Gramps. Somehow I want to see Talrow. Sadly, we didn't see either, which is rather unfortunate. Especially they could have. We could have seen Gramps in the end section. I was kind of waiting for him. I think it was something with the actor because he said he didn't want to appear again, but I would have loved to have seen that. But I mean, the ending's still great. And then Talrow, obviously, I guess I would have liked to know that when he went off screen was the last time we'd see him, because I liked him and I liked him in his brotherly relationship. But yeah. But we start with Lana and John Henry's. They explain, or Lana explains, that Sarah is going to spend the whole next year at her program, or overseas program. And in this moment, I was wondering, why are we opening the series finale? After that cliffhanger, why are we opening it with John Henry and Lana talking? Like, I want to get to the action as much as I like them. Then Lana explains how it's always hard not seeing someone you care about. And like kind of, I guess, passive-aggressive towards John because he's busy. They've been on like 4 dates since they've been dating or something like that. And then they hear explosions and they're like, that thing is back. And there was no roar, which is weird because the episode before you could hear Doomsday's roars, obviously. And that's how they knew he was here. And then how would they know it's Doomsday just because they hear explosions? I wonder if someone like forgot to put in the sound effect. But Doomsday comes smashing into this bar, like smashes right in front of John, sends him flying. I thought he might die, especially the way they like directed it. And then we get our last intro, and it's the classic intro, and it's sad. But then when we come back from that, we see Amanda. Amanda's like, Lois, you were right. Lex has deployed Doomsday even with me in the town. He doesn't care about me. And then we see Doomsday and Clark in their battle, and I thought it was interesting. The credits were like, the opening credits were appearing in the battle, which is not, typical. Then he's kind of destroying Clark, and then the boys come in and smack him through the stands. And in the teaser breakdown, I was wondering who created that hole. I assumed Doomsday like chucked Clark through it, but no, the boys chucked Doomsday through it. Then we get a reveal that John is alive, which is great, but he has an injury in his side. And then a helicopter's in the sky, because why not? We need a helicopter to explode. And Doomsday and Clark knock it down. The boys kind of save it, or save people. Actually, wait, I think I remember thinking they saved it, but I don't. The helicopter does crash with this pretty cool explosion, which makes the budget, like the budget for this is insane. They saved a lot for these last like 2 episodes. And then in this moment, for some reason, once we hit ad break, I thought about the fact that Bitsy, Elizabeth Tulloch, who plays Lois Lane, I remember her saying in an interview this season that once the final episode aired is when it would sink in for her that it's over. And I was just thinking this moment that this final episode's airing. So I wonder how she's doing right now. Maybe better than me. Then we go back to Clark taking a beating similar to before, where Doomsday's just on top of him, slamming down on him. And Lois shouts for the boys to help him, even though he asked them not to. They say fraternals, which is cool but not necessary. They come from behind and they both use super eyes on him, which is cool to have double super eyes. But at the same time, I was like, why? Why is we have the element of surprise? Why are we using super eyes instead of like punching him or something? But then John goes back to his like workshop, gets a bomb that will attach to metal or kryptonite and go boom, giving that to Lana. And then he explains he's gonna get something that makes a bigger boom for him. And at this point, I was like, that bomb's gonna come in clutch and handy. There's no way that you just like put that there for no reason. Then as Clark comes to, Lois and him get in an argument about the fact that Clark says, hey, no, don't let my boys fight that thing. I should fight him alone. And Lois explains, you can't do this on your own. And John Henry and Lana show up and say he's not alone. John's got his hammer and they are ready to make a plan. The boys guide Doomsday through the forest and Doomsday chases them. It's not Lex. In the teaser, I thought it was Lex chasing them, but it's Doomsday, so that's cool. And then we get this super cool Superman shot of just him and the slow-mo. Like, this show understands Superman, bro. And basically, the Superman or Clark tells the boys to lead the thing to him and then split off and let them take it from there. And we get a slow-mo, a really cool slow-mo as Doomsday's about to punch Clark into John Henry's hammer, comes out of the fire and bang in the face. Knew that he was going to use that hammer this episode. Then there's like happy music and everyone's like hugging. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like, what are we doing, guys? Basically they explained I was dead for now and that they're going to take him to the sun, and they're going to take him to the sun before he wakes up. Lois says, I love you. And then in this moment I was like, where's Lex? Like, isn't he watching this fight go down? Like, if he just saw Doomsday get defeated, what's he doing? Is he just chilling? You learn in a second here that he is doing something else. And then in the middle, like, I don't know what point this was, 25 minutes into like the broadcast, I just realized I was getting so many ads for like old people, I guess, like smoothing the skin and making you young. I'm not even kidding. It was like 6 and 20 minutes. And I was like, do they think old people watch the series finale of Superman and Lois? Is that what's happening? Anyways, back to the topic. Clark takes him to the freaking sun. And then we get a spin shot with the group, the main group, John Henry, Lana, Lois, and the boys, to expose Luthor on live TV. And they have to go get Amanda. Lex calls Amanda. Amanda's like, you unleash that thing with me still in the town. You don't care about me. I'm resigning. And Lex is like, oh, you don't have to worry about resigning. I'm going to kill you now. Like, that's what he was doing, apparently. He was going to go find Amanda and kill her. The boys swoop in and save her. They take Amanda to the Gazette. Lois says she wants Amanda to tell the truth about Lex and expose him on live TV. But she explains how the suit is upgraded with Milton on comms that the boys might not be able to stall. And then she says, Milton Fine. Finally, we get the full name, Milton Fine Brainiac. Once John hears that Milton's the one that took his suit, he says he doesn't really say much, but you can tell he wants beef with Milton for taking his suit. And then we go back to Clark taking Doomsday to the sun, and I was like, you know what they're gonna do for tension here? They're gonna make Doomsday start like twitching and coming back to life slowly. And yep, he is, damn it. That's the note I wrote. I write notes in my episode, but I said, yep, he is, damn it. And he's coming back. But this time Doomsday comes back. I mean, Clark, you can see it in his eyes, like, oh shoot. But Doomsday kind of holds out his hand and says, wait, don't punch me in the sun, wait. He has blue eyes appear, just like Bizarro. His memories flash of Bizarro, and basically tells Clark, you can put me in the sun. And Clark lightly taps him, pushes him into the sun, and we get a confirmed death, which you need on TV. I love that they did it, that we kind of go right to Doomsday and confirm that he like melted and died. And I love it. And I also love how smart it was to make him weak to the yellow sun, because he was Bizarro. And I think that's a smart way to kill Doomsday, who can't be killed, you know. And I mean, it's also kind of obvious, and I like that they kind of did what the people want. That's kind of what people always say to Doomsday, just throw him into the sun. And they did it, and I actually really like that. They start broadcasting. Amanda is about to talk, but Milton jams the stream. Then at the same time, we get missiles fired at John from Lex, who John goes flying to a building. Lex grabs Jordan, and like starts choking him on the ground. And my note here is petty MF. He's so petty. Then we see Clark, who is regenning kind of at the sun. He hears Jordan, who's getting choked by Lex, who says, "You are weak, just like your mother." And then Lois comes in, says he's a coward, basically says he's petty. And then the best line of the series finale, or the show maybe, she says, "Clark had no powers and he still beat your ass on this street." Or it's something like, "Clark has no powers and he still beat your ass all across the street." I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And it's just, I love that line. But she starts like roasting him. She has a way with words. She says like he's afraid of a woman and to kill him right here. And Lois says that you've been going after everyone that protects me just because you're afraid of me. Lex like, "I'm gonna freaking kill you. Time to die, Lois." And then Lois pulls out that bomb that was given to Lana, places it on him. Boom. And somehow she's not dead. I guess she got out of proximity, but I thought she'd be like destroyed. I don't know. It damages the suit a bit. But then Lex says, "You can't stop me." And then Lois does the "no, but he can" line. And then Clark comes in and boom, takes Lex into the sky. Clark and Lex fight in a freaking lightning storm. These creators really know what we want from these fights. But then Lex fires some kryptonite nails that are lodging themselves like to Clark's heart, and their plan is to lodge through his skin into his heart and blow up his heart, which is just wild. But Jordan goes to John's knocked out body and he says, "Never leave me." And John says, "I won't." And then I don't really know how he saved him here. He saved him with like a power blast because he was getting like very emotional. I wonder if this is some twin thing. They've got some twin synergy or power. I mean, I didn't think John was dead. John probably would not have died, especially you could just bring him to the sun, right? It was just a missile. I mean, it was a red solar flare missile, so it freaking hurt. But I don't think he was gonna die. But somehow he like brought him conscious with like a twin power or something like this. Then we go back to Lex and Clark fighting, and I think it's funny. Lex was like "Brr, brr" on the fights, kind of like realistic, like he's actually taking hits, and I actually really like that. Then we go back to Brainiac, who is it's a pretty funny line. Whenever Brainiac was on screen, it was actually pretty funny. But he was watching Lex's POV of like beating up Clark, and he said something along the lines of, "It's not every day you get to see Superman gets killed, or the death of Superman," he says. And then John Henry and like the DOD comes in and he's like, "Oh, I can always watch this later." Instantly, and it's funny. But John goes to Milton, slams his face on the desk, and says that Milton needs to do everything he says. Then we get Lex and Clark fighting in the sky again. Lex shouts, "Why won't you die?" While he's hit, he keeps saying "die, die" as he's hitting. And then he gets destroyed by Clark, like sent very far away. Clark uses this time to get the screw out. He can't get it. Then he gets it. He gets both screws. And this is just where I realized Lex was insane, especially Michael Cudlett's acting. He acted perfectly. A man whose only obsession was revenge, who was just going insane. Then Lex goes flying like back at Clark. Clark slapped his ass, sent him flying. He says, "You came after my wife." Lex tries to come at him again, smacks him again. "You came after my family." Coming at him again. And I was like, what is he doing? What is Lex doing? This is actually the definition of insanity. So if it's him being insane, he's trying, expecting a different result. And then Clark hits him one more time, says, "You came after my town," smack. And then says, "We're gonna end this right now." And it's just such a hype moment. But they both go flying at each other. Clark pulls his arm back like he's doing a volleyball spike, like that was while the lightning's flashing behind him, and slams perfectly into the suit, breaks the suit. Then he saves Lex from falling to his death as he would. But at the same time, I was like, is Lex not dead? That was a pretty intense hit. But he sets Lex down on the street and sees his family. And we see that the cam is on, that this was all recorded, that Lex is just like a bad dude, I guess. And Clark says, "It's over." Now, I will say, like, this fight, especially with Lex, they kind of hyped up him getting the suit, the kryptonite, Brainiac, Doomsday. It was a little rushed, but I'm not too mad, especially with the budget. This is what we got with their small budget. So at the same time, I'm like, it was a pretty sick fight, even if it was a little rushed, but it's all right. And we don't see anything more from Brainiac, so I'm going to need your guys' insight on this. John Henry kind of like, I guess, jumps Brainiac and says, I need you to do everything I say, but I don't know what he told him to do, because I don't know that he did anything. Maybe he made his suit weaker or something like that. I don't know. Then after this, we get 1 year later. Like, I was like, wait, what? 1 year later already? And it's Alana and John wedding. I was expecting Chrissy and Kyle, but I guess that just happened off screen, which is kind of weird because we kind of like did the whole wedding thing for them to just kind of skip over. It's a little weird, but Lana and John wedding's fine. And we get Chrissy and Kyle in the stands with a baby, with their baby. We get the Smallville Onions at the wedding, like Candace and Chuck and whatnot. But Lois explains how friendship's rare, especially later in life, and she's lucky to have moved to Smallville and found Lana and John Henry. She explains that Lana was always there. We get flashbacks of Lana throughout the series, and Lois says that Lana is the best of Smallville, which, if you don't know, the mayor, we learned this in season 3 episode 2, that's the only time they mention it, has a, is it a sign? It's a sign or a plaque or something that says the best of Smallville. This is kind of a callback to that. Then we do the same with John Henry. We get some John Henry memories, how he came from the other world, and that John Henry is a friend as well. I don't think he was as good as Lana's thing, but comparison doesn't matter. Comparison sucks. But then after this, it's party time, and Coach Gaines makes an appearance for the series finale, which is great. There's some dancing, some fun. Chris and Kyle say they're getting another baby, which is crazy. And I really, I think the best scene in this whole wedding sequence, not that I didn't like it, but was that Lana and Kyle got closure. They got closure. Kyle said he's glad she's happy. They're happy for each other. And now she accepted the dance. Oh my gosh, that moment was amazing. That's when I cried. When I first started crying, was, I don't know if you remember, you might not, but in season 2, I believe it's the season 2 finale. I think it is. After everything with their marriage and whatnot, they've kind of rekindled a friendship a little bit. But Kyle says, do you want to have one last dance? And Lana says, no, I'm not ready for that yet. And now in the series finale, Lana asks Kyle to do one last dance. And I think that was very, very good. And it made me cry because it was a callback. And it wasn't like crying. It was just like, oh, shoot, the tears are starting to build up. But then Sarah appeared on screen, so the tears kind of like disappeared a little bit. This is the only Sarah appearance we get. But I'm actually very happy for that. But she says that after being overseas, she's realized she doesn't want to live in Smallville. And she asks if Jordan's where he wants to be, and he says he is, as a hero. And that's all we get of Sarah the whole episode, which is great, because I don't like her. But sorry to any Sarah fans out there. Then we get Natalie and John talk. They talk about their mom, and they talk about the fact that this isn't where they came from, but it feels like home. And this got me emotional too, man. And then the final, what is that, nail in the coffin that made me start to actually cry was Clark looking at the "It Went By So Fast" kind of frame above the house, and him looking at it in contemplation. Like, that made me start to freaking cry, man, because I've always loved whenever they show that frame. They did it, I mentioned this in like the trailer breakdown, but they did it in like the pilot or episode 2. We saw them put it up. They've referenced it time and time again. And for us to get one final look at it, that it's such a symbol of the show, for me at least. And a symbol for how fast the show actually did go for the viewers and life for them. It was just, I was like, oh gosh, I started to lose it. And then they talk about what Superman and Lois Lane will be remembered for. And Lois says truth and justice. Clark says in a better tomorrow. And then we get a reveal, I guess, that Stryker's prison is where Luthor is going to be sent for life. And we go to Stryker's prison. And Lex says, I assume you met with my lawyers and we're going to get the same arrangements as my last day. And the warden's like, nope. You're going to be in a cell by yourself, for one. You can't be causing trouble. And two, Bruno is now in charge since you have left. So Bruno is in here. Let's go. And he says, you're going to make a hell of a chair, Alexander. Just like Lex made Otis a chair. Then we get the ending sequence of the show, which I'm so happy they didn't do an ad break. They would normally do an ad break at a certain time watching it live. I don't know, but they normally do an ad break during this end sequence. But I think since it was the finale, they wanted the sequence to flow better. And I just really like that. I really didn't want an ad break, basically. But we get Clark's voicing over as he says the first time he died, it was just darkness. Which is a callback, I guess, to this season where he explains that. He explains it was just darkness and then he woke up. But he explains that that's all it was. And then, out of nowhere, he says, I lived 32 more years thanks to Sam Lane's heart. Which is... I mean, it's sad to hear that he died in a shock, and at the same time, I'm grateful he lived 32 more years, and he explains before he died he wanted a legacy, and that he realized he couldn't do it alone, and he gives the boys new suits, which looks so good. I can't even begin to explain how exciting this moment was. I wish we got more of the suits, but this was still great. But he explains that ever since he beat Lex or whatever, that he came to a broken world. People lived in fear, hatred of each other, whatnot, and he devoted himself to fixing it. Also, we get new steel suit here, of John Henry, the cape. It's pretty lit. Then we get Bruno and Clark kind of making a deal about helping out the suicide slums, which is amazing because that's all that Bruno has asked for him to do, and he's actually going to do it and going to help with this new foundation that Clark and Lois has built. And then we get these newspapers. We see that Lois has, I guess, done a speech that it's called, this medical place is called Sam Lane Medical. And then we go back to them in the Kent house. They are old with glasses, and then I just got completely caught off guard with the old boys, John and Jordan, old. It was kind of crazy. But Clark explains that John and Jordan both got married with kids, and they didn't confirm that John got with Candace. I don't know if that happened, or if you're supposed to tell that the actress looks like Candace. I don't know. But Clark explains through that with grandchildren and whatnot that him and Lois were side by side, that they never spent a day apart, and that they once again had wine on the porch, which is some of their best moments. They have wine as they just sit on the porch, no TV, nothing, just on the porch. And he explains the little moments, and I mean, there's so much I want to say, but I'll say it after I do the explanation. But then we get the reveal that Lois's cancer came back. I was like, what the hell? Wait, what? 30 years later, whatever, how many years later, her cancer came back? What are we doing? Why? And the cancer killed her. And it's very upsetting. But Clark explains that Lois saved his life. And it's just so well done here because of the fact that episode 7 of this season really showed us, the episode with Jimmy Olsen. We saw what Clark's life was like, having to keep this secret, having to be this different from everyone, that it was very isolating and lonely. But Lois single-handedly saved his life. and gave him everything good in his life. And yeah. And then as Lois is drifting off, she says daddy, and then she dies as she looks off into the distance, which means she saw Sam before she died, which is great. Clark explains how it was never the same with Lois dead. She says that he says that her friends like John Henry and Chrissy or whatnot showed up to check up on him, and the boys did, but he was too lonely, so he got a dog. He got Crypto. I love it. We got Crypto and Superman and Lois, and this is the moment I lost it. I went from crying to bawling my eyes out. The idea that Clark had to live alone in the Kent house, but the fact that he got a dog to comfort him and sleep in the bed with him, it was a lot. And then we get Kyle and him walking the dog, but then Clark starts to have a heart attack, and almost the exact same place his dad died, which is another callback to episode 1, the opening moments of like episode 1. He explains that he didn't die there thanks to Kyle, but his time was running out. And here I was like, poor Crypto, don't leave Crypto by dying. But he explains that he died again, but with peace this time. No darkness into waking up again. This was moving on to peace. And we get the classic score, the ba 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 ba, but in a new instrument. Never done it before. They've never done that type before that's used in this scene. But we get the young boys who were there, and Clark goes up to them and explains what life is all about. Hope. And then we see Lex at the table, and I thought it was Gramps at first. Unfortunately, it was not. It was Lex, but kind of a comparison compared to everything Clark had compared to what Lex had, as what I thought in the moment. But then Clark sits next to him and says, forgiveness. Forgiveness is part of life. And man, I didn't even think they'd do that moment, or I needed that moment, but that was great. He says wonder. We see Crypto with them. I love it. He says friendship. Then he says family. And Lois appears by the front door in her red dress. Another callback to the red dress episode. One of the best episodes in the series. And then he goes out there and says love. And here I was like, where's Gramps, bro? What are we doing? But anyways, we already talked about that. But he explains how he came into this world alone. And that love is what got him through his life. That he went through it alone and ended it with so much love around him. But he explains that life really does go by so fast. And then we get a Superman and Lois ending with a golden Superman and a blue sky with white clouds. And man, I mean, we can talk about this right now. This was this is a hell of a series finale. I was a little worried that they were gonna rush the action. They did a little bit, but it's all right. They had great action and an amazing reconciliation and ending to the series. And just what makes it, I guess I never thought this would be a theme of the show. It didn't come to mind, but such a good and poignant, I guess, theme, or I guess realization for me, is that Clark, as they say, came to Earth alone. He was this alien from this planet that blew up, and he, at the end of this show, is sharing his insights, the perspective of an alien that has landed here, that is different, what he has learned life is all about. And it's just so poetic. And yeah, I mean, I love it. The alien perspective of telling us about love and I guess his experiences. And he has saved many people. Obviously, he's Superman. He's represented hope for the world and saved numerous people. But in a way, he's also, I guess, I mean, he's always been a message, but he is spreading that message of what he has learned in his lifetime. He's the, like, not the only alien. Obviously, there's Talro and whatnot, but he's the only person, pretty much, on the entire Earth that has this insight that is not part of Earth, but knows what humanity is all about. And I know I'm kind of ranting and kind of saying the same thing over and over again, but it's just great. And yeah, I mean, the ending was fantastic. I wanted some version of peace and seeing where they went after they died. We got that. We didn't get Grams to Talro, but I'm all right with it. The action was great. Doomsday death made sense to me. Lex fight was a little more rushed, but it was sick. I liked the appearance of Bruno, and basically the flash forward and how they ended everything was perfect. And I mean, I guess I thought I'd have more thoughts. I might think of it after I've already recorded this, but that is the Superman and Lois series finale, and the last video of mine on Superman and Lois ever, which is wild. No more episode breakdowns and no more teaser breakdowns. But if you haven't watched the show, Silo, Severance, and Last of Us Season 2, those are all things I can think of that are coming out soon. And Silo's already out, that I will be breaking down. If you want to sub, I do game, just so you know, as a reference. But you could just save the channel if you want. But that's it, guys. One last thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.